Also, I would also like to mention that the recording of whoever is using companion mode, like please stop doing it. It's not allowed, and taking screenshots are also prohibited.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining for today's workshop. Like our co-host, Ms. Shruti mentioned, please be mindful of the rules. Any kind of uh, taking screenshots or recording is actually prohibited, and please do not do it further. If you're caught, then you might be at the risk of being removed from the meeting. So, as I said, thank you for coming for the workshop. Today, we are going to have this workshop on fostering attention to digital era. I'm your host for today, and my name is Ahil Bose. I'm a junior psychologist at MindTribe. So, moving forward, so a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm a junior psychologist at MindTribe. I've completed my graduation and a master's in applied psychology, and I specialize in area as a counselor. I specialize in areas like overthinking, stress, depressive symptoms, anxiety, and the usual stuff. And my objective as a counselor is to support your journey of self-exploration and personal development, ensuring that you feel acknowledged and empowered at every stage. I make sure that you have a really safe space to talk about all your problems and all your concerns. So a few of the some of the workshop reminders before we move ahead with the workshop. So please mute your microphone unless asked a question and turn off your cameras. Use the raise hand button if you have any questions. Questions sent via the chat box will be answered after each workshop segment. So if you have any questions while I'm presenting the workshop or while I'm presenting the whole topic, you feel free to type in the chat box. Either I or our co-host will definitely answer any kind of questions and concerns you might have. And then just like I said, please be mindful of following the rules. Do not record anything or do not take any screenshots. Okay, so let's start off with the agenda of today's workshop. So what is the agenda? So we'll go over these few pointers today. So what is the impact of digital distractions, understanding attention and focus, strategies to improve attention, and some interactive activities. And we'll also create some personalized plans to help you focus your attention in better, more productive and efficient ways. Okay, so let's just start off with a quick activity. So you can feel free to unmute or just write in the chat box. So when was the last time you tried to focus, and how many times were you distracted, and what distracted you the most? Right. Okay. I constantly reach for my phone. Right. I can't hear anything. Voice. I'm sorry, Saloni. Can you elaborate on what you said? Okay, like Zainab said, I constantly reach for my phone. Yes, that's a really valid distraction. We'll talk about it further. I got distracted. Janvi says, I got distracted like after 15 minutes after a few things that I want to concentrate. Yes, definitely. Anybody else? Anyone else would like to share? Mobile phone is the biggest distraction, I guess. Absolutely, I agree. It is one of the biggest distractions now, since there's a plethora of things to do on the mobile phone. There are games, there's Instagram, scrolling on reels, social media, everything. So these act as major distractors. Absolutely. Yeah, while studying, right. So most of you, sometimes even the tiniest movement, noise. Yeah, noise. Yeah, exactly. So, situational, environmental noises and stuff other than mobile phones, these are really the most common distractors that usually keep you from doing your work efficiently, right? Absolutely. Great job interacting people. Okay. So, let's start off with a concept. Okay. So, we'll start off by introducing you guys to the concept of attention economy. So, what is attention economy? Okay. So, our attention is a limited resource. So basically think about your day. There are only so many hours and so many minutes before you simply run out of focus, right? Our mental capacity is pretty limited, and every task we undertake draws from that limited supply. And on top of that, the digital platforms compete for it 24/7. From social media notifications, streaming recommendations to news alerts, these platforms are constantly fighting for your attention. It's like a non-stop battle. And they're designing experiences specifically to keep you engaged, often without you realizing how intentional it is. You might not even realize it, but it is totally intentional. And your focus is now a product. It is being bought and sold. So the attention you give, it isn't free, no matter what you think. It's a commodity. Every scroll, a click, or pause is data. Advertisers pay a lot of amount, like billions and billions of money, to tap into that attention, tailoring ads to your behaviors. They customize those ads. In essence, your focus becomes a currency powering an entire industry. So why does this concept matters, right? So understanding this concept of attention economy and how it works, this will help you become more aware of where your attention goes and why. Sometimes you might be wondering, like, you have 24 hours in a day, although before beginning the day, you might think that 24 hours is a lot. You plan this, you'll do that, you make a routine. But somehow at the end of the day, you see that you're unable to focus on anything, and you wonder and you look back and you wonder, where did all my time and attention and focus go, right? So this is completely natural. This is a very common problem that people face. So understanding this concept of attention economy and how it is absolutely deliberate and intentional, it is not a coincidence, will make you more aware of where your attention is going and how it's not being used in the most productive way. And it's not just a theory, right? It has real implications for productivity, well-being, and even how we design systems or content if we are creators ourselves. Okay. So a little bit more details on what is attention economy. So by definition, it is a system where human attention is treated as a commodity, like I said. And examples of such attention economy theory is that notification, infinite scroll, autoplay. So the notification app sends alerts to grab your focus again and again. What is infinite scroll? So your feed basically never ends, right? So you rarely feel the urge to stop. Imagine you're scrolling reels on Instagram. Do you ever see that, you're out of reels? Does it ever happen? You might, there's this term that people commonly use, it's called doom scrolling. So while doom scrolling, you might just keep on scrolling. And at one point, your content might change, but it never ends, right? So you're getting constantly stimulated. So you do not feel the need to stop. Right. And what is autoplay? Yeah. So one video ends, another begins without you even lifting a finger, like without you even, going through much efforts or something. Earlier, before reels and stuff, we maybe searched on YouTube and we searched for specific videos that came. We had to put in a lot of efforts, right? Now with reels, you just go on Instagram, you just click one tab and there are just infinite number of videos. So what is the goal behind this concept, this theory? So it is to maximize the time spent online, right? The longer you stay, the more ads you engage with, turning your attention into direct profit for platforms. So you might have noticed that the more engagement you do in social media, you might have seen that there are ads coming, which are really, weirdly, coincidentally, they are matching with your needs, right? So that is the algorithm working over time to understand your needs and to show you over and over again the ads so that they can profit with their own products, right? Okay. So next up, how do these platforms hijack our focus, right? So algorithms exploit psychological triggers. So what does that mean? So behind every scroll and feed is an algorithm designed to map your behavior, what you pause on, what you comment on, what makes you feel angry or happy or any other emotion. These systems learn that over time, showing you content that triggers stronger reactions, and that reinforces deeper engagement, right? So when the algorithm learns what you like, what you dislike, what you prefer, what you do not prefer, and once it has learned that, it shows you that content which triggers those positive or negative feelings. Supposedly you feel really happy after seeing a very specific video or a very specific ad or anything on social media. Then the algorithm starts keeps sending similar content for you to take in. And once they see that you're engaging with the similar content, they just keep doing that over and over again, and every time, each time they share more relatable content, so that they get more stronger reactions out of it. Okay. So the next point is intermittent rewards keep us hooked. So what does that mean? So platforms serve as rewards unpredictably in the form of likes, comments, or entertaining videos appear on variable schedules. That thrill that you get releases a hormone named dopamine, which is also in layman's terms known as the happy hormone. And that gives us the motivation to keep swiping, scrolling, and returning again and again. Right? And then comes the fear of missing out. The fear of missing out drives compulsive use. We check feeds not just to consume content, but because we are afraid of missing out on something important. Friends hanging out, viral news, a perfect opportunity. So we stay constantly connected. So in this era of social media, in this advanced era of social media, all of us, like most of the people on earth who have access to internet and have access to social media, we are connected by almost the same content, right? Even if we are talking about, even if we're not talking about like being connected as people on like Facebook or Instagram as friends, just the content. Most of us are engulfing the same content. So we are connected in a way. So if someone like misses out on that content and they hear their friends or family talking about that content, that might develop a fear of, missing out on stuff that others are not. So that also creates a compulsive drive inside you to, stay up to date on the things so that you can fit in. Right. Okay. So moving on. So what are the cognitive and emotional consequences to this? So obviously it is going to have some serious cognitive and emotional consequences. So the first one is reduced attention span. It's pretty self-explanatory. You guys also might have realized that the general attention span has reduced over the time. So our brains are not built for constant interruptions, right? So we are bombarded repeatedly through devices, making sustained focus very difficult to maintain. Like some of you have mentioned in the chat box, like it's very difficult to study without looking at your phone, or maybe you study for 15 minutes, then you feel the urge to go check your phone. Maybe you've got any notification or anything, any sound from the phone. So that distracts you, right? That constantly bombards you, your phone, your social media constantly bombards you with notifications so that you get distracted. The whole point of notifications is to keep you tracked in that whole thing, in that whole maze of distractions, right? So the next point is increase anxiety and overwhelm. So how does it lead to increase anxiety and overwhelm? So this non-stop flood of notifications and digital inputs raise stress levels, okay? So it often triggers anxiety or a sense of being mentally exhausted. It is a state that we sometimes call media fatigue. And lastly, it can lead to decreased productivity and sense of fulfillment. So when we constantly shift focus, efficiency drops, errors increase, tasks take longer to complete, and the deep sense of satisfaction from meaningful work starts to disappear. You might have noticed that whenever, like even if for a day, you have managed to keep your phone or any kind of distractions away, like any kind of social media distractions away, you might have seen that you have been able to do your work really efficiently. Be that any work, it can be any household chore, it can be your college or school work, it can be your job, anything. So once you do that, once you accomplish your task in a more flow state, in a more like efficient state, you might have, at the end of the day, you might have this sense of achievement. See, I've been really productive today. That makes you feel really good. That boosts your self-confidence, your self-esteem, everything. So in a way, when you're constantly being bombarded by these distractions, right? So these affect your self-esteem, these affect your self-confidence by, if you're getting too distracted by social media, at the end of the day, you might start telling yourself, I use my phone a little bit too much today. I should have done my work more properly. So these lead to negative self-talks, which, in turn lead to a reduced sense of self-esteem. And this reduced sense of self-esteem leads to anxiety, right? And additionally, being perpetually connected on social media makes us feel less fulfilled, as our cognitive resources are scattered here and there rather than invested in what matters. So, what do we mean by cognitive resources? So, basically, in layman's terms, it might mean the mental capacity that we have, the power to focus that we have. It's absolutely scattered here and there. It's not we are not being able to focus on a single thing or a few things that actually matter. It's our focus has been taken away by things that are mostly unproductive, that mostly do not add to our life positively in any way. Those are just distractions. Those are just modes of gratifications, right? So if our focus is just like scattered, we cannot focus on one thing solely, and that leads to reduced performance, right? And that is why maybe the expectations that people set, they are not being able to meet that because their focus is not 100% there, right? Okay. So what drains your focus, right? So let's, discuss here a little bit. So think about your daily screen habits, okay? So when do you feel the most distracted, and what triggers your digital checking behavior? As in, like whenever you feel the urge to, check your phone, so what triggers that? What leads to the urge to, check your phone? You can write in the chat box, or you can feel free to unmute and say anything. Boredom. Right. Right. Sure. Okay. Not so interesting topic. Escape. Okay. Okay. Can I ask Zainab, what do you exactly mean by boredom? Just one more reel won't harm. Exactly this feeling, right? When you're alone and no one is around, talk. Absolutely. When eating meals, snacks, yes, definitely. Yeah, oftentimes while having dinner or lunch, we do check our reels a lot, and we do feel like, watching something while eating, and we do not even focus on what we're eating. Graphics use the color schemes are more vibrant and gain attention quicker. That's a really interesting and point and take. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So people do not, give that a lot of importance. The graphics that are used, it's really like it's done really intentionally. There are specific colors that can be used to grab your attention, grab your focus for a longer period of time. So that does really affect it. I suppose I'm to Zainab says I'm suppose I'm too used to the high of social media that real life feels boring most of the time. Absolutely, very well said. So, we discussed before that the social media releases a lot of dopamine, which is the happy hormone, right? So that that is the high of social media that you're talking about, and that is what usually happens when you get exposed to that for a long period of time. Everything around you in real life seems mundane because mostly the things shown in social media are not real. It's fabricated, right? And also to forget the burdening stuff, definitely, right? There are a lot of pressure in people's lives, so people do feel the need to unwind by watching some reels or just any movies or series or just using their phones in any way. Absolutely valid point. I heard that reels can cause brain fogging. Is it true? Definitely. So reels, like exposed, what reels does do is basically those are like really short videos, right? You don't have to focus for too long, and the content keeps on changing. You might have noticed now that the reels which are viral, the reels which are more successful, it's like the content is varied, and it's not like something is happening for a while. It keeps on changing, like maybe flashy colors, flashy content, flashy texts, anything that suddenly grabs your attention in like a millisecond or something. So that when you're exposed to that kind of a content where you're not watching a single thing with like sustained attention, that might lead to brain fogging. Absolutely. Like exposed when exposed to it for a long period of time, that it might definitely lead to brain fogging. Yeah. We may scroll to distract our mind. The short span of videos make us feel that it's not too much. So exactly that is exactly what I was talking about. Thank you for so much for putting it up. We may scroll to distract our mind. Definitely, yeah. So all valid points and great answers. Thank you so much for interacting and making this session better. So yeah, you all are absolutely right. These are the most common pointers of how people get distracted normally. So, okay. So here's another activity. So what I want you to do is to just type one word to describe the biggest attention drain in your own lives. It can be anything. Okay. One or two words if you feel the need to, but just describe in short the biggest attention drainers in your life. Like what takes your attention away, what draws your attention away from the important things. Insta Reels, great, right? Snapchat, right? Anything else? YouTube Shorts. It's always the short videos. Absolutely right. FOMO. Okay. All right. Ishita, if you are comfortable, can you unmute yourself and just elaborate on this point? Like, how does FOMO act as a attention drainer? If you feel uncomfortable, you can definitely text on the chat box. No worries. Okay. Unnecessary chats. Walking. Okay. Walking is an attention drainer in your life. That's pretty interesting. Instagram. Right. Absolutely. Unnecessary chats, Instagram. So it's mostly like related to social media and phone. Social media and fatigue. Right. Right. Absolutely. Definitely. Social media and fatigue are like common attention drainers in our life. Like fatigue leads to the feeling of like maybe I need to unload a bit, maybe I need to take it a bit easy. So that does act as an attention drainer from the important things. Social media is the most relatable, absolutely. So we could see here that most of the responses that you guys gave are absolutely like mostly it's related to social media only. Okay, Kanvi has raised her hand. Go ahead, Kanvi.
It's convenient. Sorry. Uh, for me, the biggest attention drainer would be lack of sleep. Because due to my everything online, like the classes and the sessions which I take, even this one, so
Right,
it has increased my screen time, and
right,
there's lack of physical activity, and so
right,
that has affected my sleep. I've recently discovered that that has affected my sleeping pattern, and
right,
although I'm working on it, so I feel that this is my biggest attention drainer, that having a more screen time, and the groups I have, since I voluntarily work in some online events, so I have to, like, currently now also I'm attending the session, but I have to put a quick message there, which is important because the session is tonight, that is related to
right.
biotechnology. So I was doing that also. So multitasking is also a kind of attention drainer, I guess.
Right, absolutely. Thank you for that answer. You're absolutely right. Multitasking, we'll definitely talk about that in details further. Thank you so much for sharing with us. So, so lack of sleep due to excessive screen time is one of the major, most serious, and most common problems nowadays. So, being exposed to that amount of screen time doing work or watching reels or any kind of social media thing, or, like the meetings, like you said, this will eventually lead to reduced sleep or lack or like a poorer quality of sleep. And when you do not have a good quality of sleep, you won't be able to focus on the things that you would like to, or the things that you feel important. So that act as attention drainers, and that will in a long term basis, that will further reduce your attention span, like in general. Like maybe if your attention span was like, for example, I'm just using as an example, if somebody's attention span is for like maybe 15 to 20, or like let's say at most 25 minutes at a stretch, Okay, so after like excessive screen time, that my prolonged excessive screen time, that might get reduced to maybe like 10 minutes. Like someone who had 25 minutes might get reduced to 15 minutes, right? So it has a very prolonged negative effect, like excessive screen time. So there needs to be a balance between screen time. And I know oftentimes, like especially after COVID, there are classes, online classes, work from home and everything. So that, does, like, sometimes we do not have an option. But even after all that, even after all the obligations and all the stuff that that we have to do, that we do not have the option to avoid, we still need to incorporate maybe a little bit of physical activity, a little bit of like maybe like even 30 minutes of going out with friends or any kind of physical activity in the gym, going out for a walk in the lake or a nearby park. These little things will definitely help you, have better sleep, have better quality of focus. So we'll definitely, talk about that in for as we go on further. And I'll, at the end of the session, I'll include a like toolkit where you can use some of the resources to incorporate and try to incorporate that in a daily life to improve your attention. Right. So thank you so much again for sharing. Okay. So other people have asked something. Okay. Okay. So, oh, I meant FOMO makes you go online was the answer to the right. Right. Absolutely. Well said. Entertainment media. Right. Lack of emotional support. Absolutely. That's a major reason. Okay. So, I want to ask a question. Why ChatGPT is more popular among youngsters? Does sleep affect mental health? Right. So coming to AI has both its pros and cons. I won't go into too much details about it because we'll get sidetracked. But so AI is is like very accessible. It makes your work easier. It gives you it comes up with points very fast. It in a way it helps you do your work faster in a more efficient way. But excessive use of AI leads to lower creativity rates and lowered thinking capacity. So like both stuffs, like good and bad side. Okay. And does sleep affect mental health? Yeah, definitely. Like I said, if you do not get adequate sleep, if you do not get well rested sleep, your mental health will definitely be affected. You will be agitated. You won't feel good, and you won't feel really at your 100%. Right. Okay. So thank you so much for participating. You guys are being really interactive. I'm glad that you are taking part in this. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit of the theoretical part again. So the science of focus. So we all know what focus means, right? So focus is a mental muscle. It can be trained by these techniques that I've researched and come up with. So the first technique that we'll talk about, it's time blocking, right? So and the second technique is digital minimalism. So what do I mean when I say that focus is a mental muscle? So it's like, imagine it as like, just like going to the gym or exercising helps in building muscle, right? So similarly, focusing your mind strengthens your ability to concentrate. Attention is a mental muscle and we can train it through deliberate exercises, which we will talk about now. Okay. So, right. One second. Time blocking. Right. So time blocking. So this is one of the most efficient ways of improving your focus or the focus exercise that we talked about. So what is time blocking? So set specific time periods for focus work. If you can see, there's a like table here. So I'll definitely share everything at the end of the workshop in the group. So what you can see is here is that there are a few rows and columns, and it has time and all the days of the week, and the time has been divided into, let's say, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 12. So maybe breakfast, get ready, work, lunch, and then work, and then maybe break. So it is a way of breaking down your day into chunks. Like instead of viewing it as one large day consisting of 24 hours, you break it into chunks, right? So setting specific time periods for focus work, like I said, time blocking means carving out dedicated chunks of time. So let's say 9 to 11 a.m. for your most important high concentration tasks. Instead of a vague to-do list, You have got a clear appointment with yourself. Like according to productivity experts, even this method dramatically boosts focus and helps create the deep workflow state. So instead of like creating, for some people it might work, right? Like creating a to-do list and they might work really efficiently. But like it has been studied and it has been scientifically backed that, setting chunks of your day, like I said, 9 to 11 for the most, maybe you set 9 to 11 and you say that you'll do the most productive, the most difficult work of your whole day during that time. And during that time, you keep aside any kind of distractions, right? So during each block, treat it like a meeting. Okay, treat it like a meeting with yourself. Put your phone on silent, close extra tabs. Context switching can waste up to 40% of productive time, and time blocking is that shield against that cost, right? And you can also use tools like Google Calendar, or if you're like a pen and paper person like me, you can use analog planners. So whether you prefer a digital calendar or an old school planner, the key is visual scheduling. So what you do is that you are visually seeing, you can, instead of just imagining how you want your day to be, you are visually seeing how you want to divide your day into different parts, right? The tools like Google Calendar or pen and paper planners make your blocks visible to you and to anyone booking you, right? So the visibility not only keeps you on track, it sends a signal that your time is protected. And let me tell you why this technique works. So what are the benefits? Okay. So firstly, it leads to improved focus. You work on one thing at a time, better quality and fewer mistakes. Like someone mentioned before, that multitasking is a major attention drainer, right? So this helps control that. Instead of focusing on a lot of different things at once, you focus on maybe one thing or like a few things, a small number of things, but you give your focus like 100% of your focus. It's not, your focus is not scattered here and there. It's not like 20% of your focus is on one job, the rest 40% is on something else. So you do not divide your focus into small parts. So this way you can do your job more productively. And the next benefit is a reduced procrastination. So knowing that there is a slot for each task encourages starting on time. So what you do here is that you assign specific slots for those jobs, right? You can see that you have assigned very specific slots for them. So you might, if you have the habit of procrastinating, thinking like, okay, I'll do the work later, or I'll just start at maybe in maybe an hour or so. Seeing that you have designated a specific amount of time for that job particularly might give you that extra motivation that, okay, so let's get this over with. I have designated, I've allotted this time here for this purpose only. So let's just do it. So that, leads to reduced procrastination and greater control. So you can visually manage priorities, breaks, and buffer time to avoid overload, right? So you what you're doing is that you're visually writing where you need breaks, what are your priorities, and what is your buffer time. So you have a greater control on your whole day. You have a greater control on your entire schedule. And if you feel like you're in control of your day and you're in control of your own tasks that you have to complete, you'll feel much better about yourself. You have improved focus. You'll be able to do your job more effectively and more productively. Right. So the next point, the next technique is digital minimalism. So this is a relatively lesser known concept. So it's pretty simple. So what it says is that it asks us to use technology intentionally, right? So what does that mean? So digital minimalism is not about getting rid of tech. Okay. It's about using it on your own terms, aligned with your own values. You decide why and when something earns a spot in your digital life. It's not like just because you have social media or just because you have Instagram or YouTube Shorts or whatever, just because you have reels doesn't mean that you have to go and see them, right? You doesn't mean that the social media will influence you or influence your actions or behavior. Okay, this teaches you how to control that urge, how to gain greater control on your use of technology. This in no way says that you need to cut off reels for good. Not at all. Like everyone needs like a little bit of social media gratification. Everyone needs distractions. So, but like being intentional about it, like maybe saying to yourself, okay, so I'll just scroll reels for like 30 minutes. Okay, but that's it. You do not go beyond that. You take your phone out, you scroll for 30 minutes, 30 minutes are over, you're done. You take a like a 5 minute break without any phone or any kind of distraction, then you start on with your work. You are controlling when you will start engaging with your technology and when you will stop, right? So this gives you that power. And the next point is auditing your apps. So keep only what's essential. So if you're struggling with, getting too much into social media, using too, like a lot of screen time amount is, going behind these social media apps like Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, whatever, you can always audit your apps. So keep only what's necessary. Perform a digital audit. Review every app and the, ask this question to yourself. Okay, so does this genuinely enhance my life or just pull my attention? Does it add to my, is this adding to my productivity, or is it just wasting my entire time or my entire focus? Right? Remove the non-essential apps and categorize the rest, such as essential, supporting, or time wasters. Like if you see that your phone is cluttered with, mostly after you ask those questions to yourself, right? Like, does this genuinely enhance my life, or is it just a distractor? After you ask yourself the question, and if you see that the answer is in your phone, you have more distracting apps than anything productive, you might need to cut down on them. You might need to uninstall them. I'm not saying that you need to clean your phone completely, like devoid of any kind of social media entertainment. Not that, but keeping it under control, cutting it down. Like even if you have any app like that, you can just label it. Like some apps, maybe the notepad or Google, where you search for or stuff, or like research for your work and stuff, you categorize those apps as essential. Okay, essential or supporting. And the apps which are solely for your gratification, which are solely for your entertainment, you can label them as time wasters, so that you are aware that these apps do not add to my productivity, so I do not need to get lost in them, right? Okay. Okay, so lastly, schedule no screen time daily. So this is very important. Okay, so establish regular screen free periods, maybe after dinner or first hour after walking, or maybe like the most importantly, before going to sleep, there should be no screen time. It drastically reduces your quality of sleep. So you do that so that you aren't constantly reacting to alerts. When you get constantly exposed to social media or the notification or anything, you develop kind of like a instinctive reaction to them. Like suddenly your phone beeps and you instinctively go and check it, right? So to reduce doing that, to prevent you from doing that, you can schedule no screen time in your, like maybe in the time blocking routine technique that I've showed. No? So what you can do is that you can choose a specific hour in your whole day and label that as no screen time, and you do not use a phone, laptop, any kind of digital, any kind of technology, any kind of gadgets, right? You spend that time in any other way, but you do not engage in any kind of screen time. So why this matters is that it helps you reclaim control. It helps you boost clarity and energy. Reducing digital clutter, it improves focus, reduces mental fatigue, and it frees you for more meaningful actions. And it supports long-term habits over short-lived detox. So instead of temporary fixes, like just to as a stress buster, let's just scroll reels, and you start out by thinking that you scroll reels for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and it just keeps like increasing. 10 minutes, if you go to 30 minutes, and then you go to an hour, to a couple of hours, and maybe when you realize it, by the time you realize it, like couple or like 3 hours have been passed, and you're just scrolling, and you don't even like you did not even realize that it has been such a long time, right? So instead of focusing on those temporary fixes, this technique, digital minimalism technique, fosters lasting tech habits grounded in values. Right. Okay. So moving on, we'll now talk about a concept that one of us brought up earlier. So multitasking. So multitasking, we'll talk about the myths of multitasking. So multitasking is not equals to productivity. While multitasking might feel efficient, you might feel like, oh my God, you're doing so many tasks at once, you're like completing so many stuff at once. It's actually just an illusion. When we think we are doing two or more tasks at once, our brains are really switching rapidly between them. And that's pretty costly. We are not being able to do one of them wholeheartedly. We feel like we are doing two or more tasks, like one after the other, one after the other. But in most cases, most scenarios, that does not happen. We are just giving part of our attention, part of our focus to each task. So that is why those tasks get, take longer time to complete, and we find it really difficult, and the mental fatigue starts kicking in, right? So the next point says that the brain task switches, which reduces efficiency. So what does that mean? So each switch triggers a switch pause. Okay. So reorienting attention takes time and mental energy. Research shows that this can waste up to 20 to 40% of productive time, especially with complex tasks. So in layman's terms, if you keep switching between these tasks, that it takes time for your brain. Your brain is not like a super advanced computer. It takes time for your brain to refocus on a new topic or on a new task every time. Suppose you're doing like a household chore or something, and at the same time you're doing your corporate job or any kind of work, right? Your job related work. So you're constantly switching between the two of them. It's not possible that without taking any amount of time, any considerable amount of time, you just go from casually doing your household chore to just doing your job, your work. You can't do that. It takes time for your brain to rewire, and that again causes a lot of mental fatigue if you keep doing it. So okay, right. And studies show up to 40% productivity loss, like I said. So it's it's a bit of a technical jargon. Let's say it. A study by the American Psychological Association, it has found after years of research that switching can reduce productivity by as far as 40%. Right, 40% is a huge amount of number in this scenario. So another study also revealed that it takes on an average of 23 minutes to fully recover focus from an interruption. Right. So let's talk about multitasking a little bit more. So what is the true cost of multitasking? So suppose a person feels like, okay, you have to multitask. There are so many chores, there's so many work. You cannot possibly complete all the work. You just do one thing at a time. Okay. So let's evaluate the cost of, doing that. What might happen if we do that? So it leads to lower work quality. First up, the work quality gets decreased. It turns out what feels like efficiency to us, it's often just rapid task switching. Every time we switch focus, like we mentioned before, we lose 40% of our productive time. And this isn't just a tiny distraction. It leads to more errors, sloppy outputs, shallow thinking. Just imagine a scenario where maybe you're submitting an important report and think you nailed it, only to find avoidable mistakes after reevaluating. That's the real cost. You might feel that you are doing it really efficiently, right? But then, since it's not possible to give 100% focus to two tasks at the same time, you might end up making sloppy mistakes, ones which you would have never done if you focus 100% on one task or on one job. So you did not even notice that after maybe sending out a report or after maybe doing a job, you notice that there are so many things, there are so many tiny errors that might, cost you a lot, right? In any job interview or maybe any kind of work that you have, maybe these small errors might you might get you into a big trouble, and you might think that why did not I focus better on this, or why didn't I multitask in a better way? There is no multitasking in a better way. You think that you're working efficiently, but you're just switching between two tasks, and you feel like, oh my God, I'm doing so many tasks at once. I might be a genius, right? So you get that feeling. So the next point, it's increased mental fatigue, like I said. So the brain is not designed to juggle tasks. Okay, it's a monotasker. Multitasking ramps up cognitive load and burns through mental energy faster, right? So like we did when we started off this workshop, I mentioned that our brain, it's a monotasker, right? And what is cognitive growth? It's like our capacity to focus, our mental capacity basically. And it's not infinite, right? It's pretty limited, it's finite. So multitasking just burns through all that mental energy way faster. And what you end up with is you get drained attention, irritable mood, difficulty making decisions, and even you might even get physical symptoms like headaches. Okay. This is why after a day of like productivity, quote unquote productivity, those who like relate productivity to multitasking, that person might feel exhausted or not accomplished. Right. That might happen. And lastly, weaker memory retention. So, weaker memory retention research shows that heavy multitaskers consistently underperform on memory and attention span. Multitasking can make info retrieval more rigid and less flexible, and reducing IQ by roughly 15 points, comparable to missing a night's sleep. Right. So, like here, it focuses on two very important things. So, what can missing a whole night's sleep can do to you is that it can reduce your IQ points, right? And what multitasking also does to you is that it does the same thing. It reduces your IQ points. You might think that you're working really efficiently and you're being really smart, but it just leads to you being less attentive, and your focus and your attention and everything that you were be able to do earlier, you might not be able to do that efficiently after a prolonged period of multitasking, right? So the bottom line is basically you're less likely to remember what you need, especially the very important people. And why these points matter, why understanding the true cost of multitasking matters, like impact on quality and reputation. Mistakes and mediocre output will not go unnoticed. They can undermine your credibility and they can slow down your career. And there is always a risk of burnout. Mental fatigue is not temporary. It accumulates. It keeps like accumulating over time and over time, and it eventually leads to chronic stress, reduced productivity, and lastly burnout. And which we'll talk about in our further slides. And learning and growth and poor memory retention lowers your ability to learn. This stagnates personal development and adaptability. So these are like the true and very heavy costs of multitasking. Okay. So now let's take a short ad break, right? So it's just a quick ad break. Do not worry. We'll just go over it very quickly. Okay. So we'll talk about one-on-one counseling. So what is one-on-one counseling? So it's a personalized, confidential chat between you and a trained therapist. Imagine having someone who really listens and understands you and helps you figure things out. What are the benefits? It's personal growth, solving problems, setting goals, and boosting your mental well-being. It's like having a personal coach for your own mind, right? And let's go over some of the common counseling misconceptions. So now let's just bust this big myth because it's a really common talking point. Many think counseling is only for those who are unwell or who are mentally unwell. That is not the case at all. Counseling is for anyone who is wanting to be their best self. Suppose a person just feels like, I have scope for improvement, but they do not know how to go about it. Counseling might just, give that guidance to, okay, unlock that best potential, that inner potential that you have for yourself. For example, if you want better relationships, more friends, a spot in your dream college or job, counseling can address all those and it can help you with all that. It's all about making the best version of you instead of thinking that, someone is unwell or counseling tries to fix them. It's not that at all. And okay. So why choose MindTribe counseling? Right. So first off, our counselors are super talented and we are super affordable. And our sessions range, the prices here, which you'll see on the slide, these are old, these are not updated. The updated rates are, it ranges from rupees 800 to 5,000. And your first session is for rupees 249 only. Once you're comfortable, you can choose from our affordable packages. And empowering minds and transforming lives, that is what we do here at MindTribe as counselors. If you have any urgent questions, you can write it in the chat box or you can write in the group. We will definitely get back to you and address any questions you might have. So now moving on with the rest of the workshop. So here's a fun fact. It takes an average of 23 minutes to refocus after digital distraction. So I want you to tell me again in the chat box, or you can unmute, how long do you think you take to refocus after watching television or using a phone? Like how long does it take for you? Would anyone like to share? Never noticed. Okay. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with the other candidate. I have never noticed, but I have noticed a thing like if you are like I tried avoiding like skipping lectures or something, like giving priority to my own work, right? Because
Right.
you go off this digital thing,
Hmm.
you rethink, right? So I guess
Right.
I've never noticed for the same, but like if you take currently 1 hour would be fine for me. I guess it would work. It makes me think actually. If I'm not even if I am switching the devices, for example, if I'm doing something on phone and I have
Right.
a 1 hour gap and then I do something on my laptop, right? So
Right. Right.
that helps me according to me.
Okay, okay. Okay, great answer. So what you can do is that since you have never tried this before, you have never noticed, you can just the next time you're sitting and working, doing any kind of job, just make a note, maybe take a stopwatch and keep your phone away. You don't have to look at the stopwatch, or else you'll be mindful for that to that. You can just notice that how long you can focus at a stretch without thinking anything, without getting any urge, without any kind of distraction. Right? You can try that. Okay. Let's see what other people are saying. Mostly 10 minutes to get to my basics. Right? Okay. Half an hour. Okay. Okay. Right. At least 30 minutes, and I need to walk to calm my mind. Absolutely. So pacing does help, right? So after getting exposed to screen time, you can, if you just pace around or just walk around without having anything in your hand or in your mind, that does help. So it's highly recommended to do that after, watching phone or television or any kind of technological gadget or anything. And 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, right. So most of you have set a time ranging from 10 to 15 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour, right? So what we can understand here is that it's pretty varied. There is no generalized time. Mostly here the 23 minutes is just an average, right? So it's just an average of like a lot of people. So it's pretty varied. People might take an hour, people might take 30 minutes, people might take 10 minutes. Some people might take even lesser, some people might take even more, right? So the next time you watch your phone or like television, you can just see that how long it actually takes you to get your focus back. You can try this as a small activity to do, like anytime you want. Okay. So moving on, designing distraction-free environments. How can you design environments which are distraction-free, right? So, uh, so let's talk about some of the main triggers. So, what pulls you off task? So, let's go over some of the examples. So, phone on your desk, right? So research says that having your phone visible, even silent, reduces mental capacity. If you are working, if you supposedly have a work desk, right, and you keep your phone right beside your laptop or your work or wherever you're working, and even if you're not using your phone, even if your phone is like your screen is off, right, it's just sitting there, that still acts as a distraction, right? That you still feel the urge to, okay, let me just reach out and grab my phone and just maybe just see a quick reel. Or even if you do not intend on seeing a reel, if you just take your phone up and maybe you want to search something on Google, and eventually after doing that, maybe you drift away into doing social media stuff. You don't even realize that, right? So keeping a phone on your work desk, like, it acts as a very major distractor, right? and open tabs and notifications. Right. So frequent interruptions mean you can lose focus and it can take up to 30 minutes to recover from these distractions. If you keep your notification sound on, if you keep multiple tabs on, they contribute a lot in disrupting your focus, right? And every time you get thrown off your focus, or if you get thrown off your flow that you're in, it gets every time it gets more and more difficult to refocus, right? And lastly, background noise. So background noise, like people say, it's a very common thing, and sometimes it's not even in our hand. Maybe if some people are doing work from home, maybe if they live with large families, there may be now people are like walking around, talking, having discussions. Some of them, you can't even control. Even if you're like living beside a really busy road and you're trying to study, and there's like sound of cars honking all the time and people like hustling and bustling all the time. So that acts as a major distractor, and try to minimize background noise as much as possible. Like maybe in a room where it's far off from the most noisy portion in your environment. Try to maybe put your headphones on without listening to songs. Just put your headphones on, noise cancelling headphones if you have, to cancel out all the excess noise. So that might help, right? And these small changes can lead to big impact. You might not realize it. You might think that, okay, if I keep my phone away from me, like if I keep my phone 20 feet away from me instead of like 1 feet, how will it matter? How will it improve my focus? It might seem like that, but these small changes are what leads to something really big, right? It totally, if you keep doing it consistently, it will definitely improve your focus. It will definitely improve your productivity. You just have to keep at it. You can't expect that, like if you do it for like 1 day or 2 days, and on the third day you're back to your old ways, and you think that, okay, no, I tried to keep my phone away, why didn't it work? No, it does not work like that. You have to, like anything else in the world, you have to do it consistently. You have to do it practice. Once you get into that practice, once you get into that habit of not using your phone as much, things will get a lot easier. You will see considerable amount of change. Right? Okay, moving on. So here's another question for you guys. So for you, what makes an environment distraction free? Okay, you can like say like how, what do you mean, what it means for you when you say that your environment is distraction free? If anyone would like to share, that would be great. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I guess a room without a laptop, or
A room without a laptop, okay.
yes, and the phone to be outside, and just your, like for example, uh, just a room with the comfortable environment, the temperature, and the chair, etc. Right, and only the
Right,
target that you have to read. For example, if my target is to just read a book, random book. For example, I'm reading Barack Obama's one autobiography, right? So only
right,
that book at that time, and rest. Obviously, there will be other things normal in the room. You can't shift the room, so only that room, and with and also an intention that I have to read that thing only. And
right,
even if somebody is calling from outside, your parents or something, that usually happens with me. Like I feel ki nobody should call me. Like my mother also, now I was listening to this session, so she just closed the door because she know that I don't like that thing, right? So
right,
even if you're getting distraction from that thing, you should, even if you're distracted for a minute, for example, like you get irritated on that part, which I usually do, but you just calm yourself down. You have water with you, that is a big bless on, right? So just
right,
calm yourself. That, I guess that would be for me then idle free environment, which will lead to productivity, because even if I'm not able to focus, I am being consistent in that thing. So ultimately it will make me have a habit of that thing, so that will help me increase my interest. So that was my take on that.
right. Great answer. You have summarized most of it. Like really great answer. Thank you so much for sharing. Other people here can also, take note of whatever points she said, because she said some really interesting and valid points. Like what makes a room distraction free is that other than all the background noises, other than the stuff that you do not have in your control, you need to focus on the stuff that you have in your control, right? So like she mentioned, you can keep your laptop aside. If you do not have work on your laptop or your phone, you can keep them aside. You can create a safe, like warm, safe space in your room. You can maybe in your room, you can create a dedicated space for just work, and you sit there and you do your work. And when you're done with your work, you get up and you leave. That just gives you a feeling of okay, I'm doing my work here, I'm not supposed to do anything else, right? So that designated office space that you've created for yourself, for your, not just for office, just for your work in general, and you use that corner just for that, nothing else. You do not eat there, you do not do any kind of other recreational stuff there, you just work. So creating these small spaces, reducing clutter, reducing distractions. If you have parents who keep calling you or keep like addressing you by your name, you can just let them know politely that I'm working. Can you please come back after these hours? I'll be working please for these few hours, right? So these things, like drinking plenty of water, that was also like really, really great point. So these are very small but really big things, that can contribute to your distraction-free environment, right? Okay, and okay, let's see what other people. Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. Would you like to share anything?
Sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can do that. Go ahead.
Yeah. While studying or working, instead of taking breaks as screen breaks, we can just take a screen-free break, and you can just have
Right.
like a cup of coffee or tea and just look outside the window and just be
Absolutely.
in the present.
Right, absolutely. That is
Instead of
another great point.
Because most people take a break and they just scroll and then the break extends. So
Uh-huh.
that way you'll have a stipulated break time.
Right. Absolutely. Great point. Great point. People mainly think that taking break means, looking over to your phone or going through your social media. It does not
Yeah.
necessarily mean that. If you reduce that, that is like that will be much better for you, because you just take break in the form of maybe like a coffee break, or maybe you just walk around the room, or maybe you just, like you mentioned, staring out the window, like enjoying the view or something like that, or just being by
Yeah.
yourself present in the moment. That works as like wonders, because if you take breaks in the form of looking at social media, like we discussed before, you will again need to give your brain some time to shift their focus from the social media thing to your work thing, right? But here, if you are, like you mentioned, if you do these things, you're not adding any kind of extra work on your brain. Instead, you're letting your brain relax for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So that improves your focus, that improves your overall mood, that in the long term will definitely improve your quality and your productivity. Okay, quality of your work and productivity. So thank you again for sharing. That was a great point.
Thank you.
And okay, so let's see what other people are also saying. So my mind on mute. Okay, that's an interesting thing. So yeah, definitely people might have a lot of thoughts going on in their mind, and that does interfere with our work. That does distract us a lot. So definitely that's a valid point. And one task at a time, phone out of sight, keep it in another room or at least face down and do not disturb. Uh, Minimal noise, like avoid songs with lyrics, clear desk, just my materials, one notebook, a pen for study, no clutter. Absolutely. Again, very well put, very well summarized. You guys can also check the chat box and you can note this down if you want to. Yeah, these are really good points. A proper seating arrangement and sitting posture, yes, definitely. If you are like working in a place where maybe you're lying on a bed and you're working, or you're just sitting in a very slacking manner and you're working, that does not really give you the professional feel. If you just like sit in a chair, in an office chair, or maybe just chair even, and sit in an upright posture and work, that indirectly or directly will give you a greater sense of productivity, and that does matter a lot. Turn off the notification, keep your phone aside or away from yourself, especially in a study. Absolutely. Spending me time, absolutely. So that is also very important. Distraction-free environment does include spending me time. Like someone mentioned that, instead of just taking breaks, just taking no screen time breaks is really important. So giving yourself time, drinking coffee, walking around, just doing anything for yourself that does not include any kind of social media or phones, and it's very crucial. So great job, guys. Great job interacting and some great answers that we have here. So yeah, so let's move on with the next thing. Okay. Okay, so now we'll move on to a new concept, right? So, what is flow? I'm pretty sure some of you are, most of you might be familiar with this term, but let's just still discuss about that. So, flow is a mental state full of full immersion in a task, right? People in flow report intense focus, clear goals, and a profound sense of enjoyment. So much so that the hours pass like minutes. It is a state where nothing else seems to matter, and the act itself becomes its own reward. And some of the key elements of flow, it includes clarity of goals, immediate feedback, skill challenge balance, complete concentration, loss of self-consciousness or sense of control, altered perception of time, and intense reward. So to go by one by one, immediate feedback, complete concentration, loss of self-consciousness. What does that mean? So basically, it means that imagine you're writing so fluidly that time just disappears. That is exactly what is flow. Have you ever had this feeling where you're doing a task, okay, and you are so immersed in that task, you're doing that job in such a flow state where no interruptions are there, no distractions are there. You're just doing your job, you're enjoying it, and you are doing it so smoothly that you do not even realize that a huge chunk of time has passed. And when you realize it, you've seen that you've done so much work and you've completed so much stuff, and such a long time has passed, but you did not even feel like it. You did not feel that you have done so much. You've done so much work. Did you guys ever feel like this? If you have this, you can give a quick thumbs up from the reaction center, right? Absolutely. So that feeling, where you don't even realize that so much time has passed after doing the work, that feeling is the sense of flow. That is the concept of flow. Okay. So how can we cultivate flow, right? How can we? Okay. All right. So let's see what someone is saying here. Yesterday I tried swimming for the first time and someone experienced this time ago. Right. Absolutely. So it can be said about any of the tasks. Like flow can happen in any of the tasks. Swimming is a really physically endearing and a very cathartic exercise. So feeling the sense of flow while swimming, it's really, I'm sure it must have been pretty relaxing and peaceful for you. So I'm glad that you felt that way. So yeah, this type of feeling, that is the sense of flow. And we'll talk about creating flow in more commonly in your day-to-day lives. So how can you cultivate flow is that you can minimize distractions. Silence your phone, like we have discussed by now, that silencing your phone, closing tabs, clear notification. Flow, to enter in this state of flow, you have to have undivided attention. You cannot do multitasking. You cannot have anything by your side. You just have just working in a very smooth, fluid state. You have to remove all the distractions, right? The next point is match challenge to skill. So what does that mean? The task should stretch you, but they should still remain achievable. Too easy leads to boredom, and too hard leads to anxiety. So this is a very common thing that people do. Okay, so either people set tasks that are too easy, that are too easily attainable, and then they feel like okay, and then they see that has not made much of a dent in your general deadline or maybe the number of tasks that you need to complete because you have set the goals too low or too few or too easy, and that might lead to, in turn, that might lead to boredom. If you see that you are being able to achieve all those tasks very easily, in a minute or maximum all the tasks in an hour, then you might feel like, Chalo, oh, I have completed all my work, so let's do something else. So again, you fall into that deep pit of social media. So that is really not helpful, right? So that is one side of the coin, and the other side of the coin is that if you set tasks which are like, if you feel like you're a perfectionist, and if you set tasks which are really, really, really difficult to attain, right? That will lead to anxiety. So I'll explain how. So if supposedly, I'll explain with a very out of context example. Okay, so let's say someone has for an exam, someone has set a task or a goal that they will score 100 out of 100 in that exam. Okay, and like let's say that this exam, like it's a higher study exam, it's not like junior school. I think it's a pretty complex exam, and that person is really good in studies. So that person has set this goal that they will that person will get 100 out of 100 in that exam. So he or she has worked really hard, gave the exam, and maybe on the day of getting the results, he or she got 97, 96, or 95 or 92 even. Okay. Then what will happen is that that person will, might not feel happy about that number, because the ultimate goal was to get 100 out of 100. And that is such a near impossible and unattainable goal that, and upon not reaching it, that person totally disregards his or her own efforts and all the hard work, and also the fact that that person has gotten such a nice number, such a nice mark, that gets totally overlooked by the just the fact that he or she has not been able to achieve that goal. This leads to anxiety, this leads to self-doubt, this leads to lower self-esteem. So instead of saying that I have to get 100 out of 100, maybe if that person set the goal that, okay, I need to improve, I need to let's set a goal that since my last exam, I want to get this amount of marks more. Okay, maybe like one or two, or even if like not setting a certain amount of marks, you might want to say that, okay, I want to get this number like in this like in the 90s or maybe in the 80s, like more attainable, right? So setting your goals according to your let's say the resources you have, the time you have, and setting achievable but at the same time hard goals, like not too easy goals. It's really important. Setting realistic goals is one of the primary things that you need to learn how to do. So the next time you feel that you're being able to do the work like really easily, and you feel bored, check and see if you are maybe the goal that you're setting by the end of the day, if it's too easy for you, or if you need to increase it a bit or not. Or if you feel like you're not being able to manage any of the goals or hit any of the goals that you're setting, maybe just reevaluate and tone it down, tone your goals down. Maybe just reduce it, reduce the numbers of the goals, or maybe reduce the intensity of the goals, right? So take a step back and see how it's working for you, and then set new goals. Just set goals which are realistic. Okay. So now we'll talk about boundaries between work and life. So the concept of flow, it doesn't exist in chaos, right? Boundaries help cultivate it and preserve it. So if you keep on working, that will not, sustain your state of flow. You have to have boundaries, right? So how can you set your boundaries? So set work hours and stick to them. So define your start and stop times, okay? Treat them as not negotiable. If you have set your work time, work hours as 9 to 5, you will complete any and every work that you have this week. Try to do that, obviously. Try your best to complete any and every work that you have within that time. Okay. Try to think that after 5, I will not take work back home at all. Okay. I'm just using this time as an example. You can, obviously, it applies to each of you individually, depending on the type of work you have. So setting specific work hours and sticking to them, and outside those work hours, not thinking about work or study anymore, is absolutely crucial for maintaining that boundary. Okay. Some days, sometimes you might have extra workload and you might go over the time limit a little bit, but that's okay. Being consistent is more important than doing it like every day intentionally. Like, some of the days you can have a lot of work and go a few hours overboard, that's completely fine. Okay, so create rituals to start and end work. So what does this mean? It's like really simple. So symbolic routines like brewing coffee before work and a shutdown bell in the evening help your brain shift gears. So maybe like before like sitting for work or before like study routinely, like in a ritualistic manner, you get coffee. Okay, it's kind of like imagine that as fuel for your car to move along for the rest of the day. You need that as a fuel. So you have that. Okay, and after that, after your work is done, after your work hours are over, maybe there's like a small notification on your phone or like an alarm on your phone that ritualistically indicates that my work hour is over. Okay, this conditions your brain. This changes. This brings about a change in your brain. Okay, this helps demarcate the line between work and life and your personal life, right? So I hope these advices help, and you can definitely try these out. These ritual things, and see if it progressively makes any changes for you. Okay. So how to prevent burnout? Right. So what is burnout? Burnout is basically when you reach the pinnacle of your like mental capacity. If you have imagine like you're a cup, okay, and you're pouring water into it. You're keeping like you're constantly pouring water, and it has reached the brim, and it starts overflowing. The point where it starts overflowing, that feeling is called burnout in technical terms, where you like you have reached a mental capacity, you have pushed yourself to the absolute limit, and you have reached a state of mental fatigue, right? So what it looks like is that if you face burnout, right? If you feel like you have reached the pinnacle of your mental fatigueness, you might feel irritable all the time. You might see that you're not getting good sleep. You might feel physically tired, or you might feel like if you have gotten, let's say, 8 or 9 hours of sleep at night, and then upon waking up, you're still feeling tired. That is a symptom of burnout. Some of the other symptoms are like you feel irritable, you are in a bad mood like all the time, you do not want to talk to other people, you do not want to interact, you do not want to work, you do not want to do anything, right? So these are the common symptoms of burnout. This is a way of your body telling you that I have reached my maximum potential and I can't go anymore. I can't work anymore. So these symptoms can eventually prolong burnout, prolong exposure to such stress can lead to more psychological problems and more serious symptoms. And to avoid that, what we can do is that we can schedule regular breaks. So there's this technique which I'll include in our toolkit, which I'll send you. It's a resources thing. It's called the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if some of you have heard of it or not, but it's basically where you work for 25 minutes. Okay, it's like a cycle. Okay, you work for 25 minutes, then you take 5 minutes rest, and in those 5 minutes, you do not look at your phone or anything. You maybe go for a coffee break, or maybe you go out for a walk. In those 5 minutes, do anything but use your phone. So again, then after that 5 minutes break, then you again work or study for like 25 minutes. Then again 5 minutes break, then you repeat this whole cycle for like 4 times. After you have repeated this cycle 4 times successfully, you take a longer amount of break. Like maybe like instead of 5 minutes, you take like 15 to 20 minutes of break. And then you again repeat the cycle. So this helps you maintain a balance between work and rest. This gives your brain the opportunity to readjust itself every time after focusing really hard. It does not put too much strain on your brain, and it divides your work more efficiently. And you will see that if you incorporate this technique in your daily life, you'll be able to do your work more efficiently. Okay? And the second point is prioritizing rest and mindfulness. Breathing exercises or a walk can definitely reset your mind. So what mindfulness means is that, like someone said, it's called being present in the moment. It's not being engaged in the phone or social media or anything like that. It's just being present in the moment. Whatever you're doing, you are paying full attention to that. Breathing exercises means that only you're focusing on your breathing. You're taking what we are used to is that we do not even focus while we are breathing, right? Like usually. Deep breathing exercises like that, that will help you bring your focus to breathing. That will help you stay in the present moment and avoid any kind of focus or any kind of distractions. Okay. And mindfulness walking, like paying attention while you walk, paying attention to your surroundings, every little detail, like what is around you, who all are talking. If there's like birds, then you can take note of the birds chirping around you, how the climate feels, everything. So these little things, help you be present in the moment instead of, being anxious or being stressed out all the time. And lastly, avoid equating business with value. Real progress stems from quality and not just showing activity. Do not think that if you keep yourself busy, like for the most of the day, you're being really productive. No. If someone is busy for like 2 to 3 days and they are being able to do their work productively and effectively while maintaining a work-life balance, that is way more appreciable and important than someone who is like busy through 10 to 12 or 15 hours a day in their lives and still they feel that they are not being productive enough, right? So busyness does not necessarily mean value. Okay. So, right. So why do these things matter? Okay. So flow leads to peak, this concept of flow, it leads to peak performance, creativity, and a sense of deep satisfaction. And these boundaries protect mental health, reduce stress, and guard against chronic overwork. And burnout prevention is essential for long-term resilience, maintaining clarity, motivation, and emotional health. And these aren't just feel-good strategies, okay? They are critical investments in consistency, performance, and well-being, right? Okay. So here's a takeaway activity I want you guys to do. During your free time, you can definitely do that. You can just try this out. You can write down 2 habits that you would like to change, 2 habits that you feel keep you from focusing 100%. It can be multitasking. It can be having too much screen time. It can be anything. You can write down 2 habits that you would like to change. And which are the following techniques? These are the techniques that we discussed today, like time blocking and digital minimalism. Out of those 2 techniques, you can evaluate which one you would like to choose. Definitely, I'll be sharing these techniques with you so that you can take a look by yourself and try to incorporate them in your daily lives. And then what I wanted to do is that just make a small, concise plan on how you would like to redesign your focus environment. Like some of you really gave some really good pointers on how to create those distraction-free environment, right? I want you guys to like similarly redesign your own like environment where you would, be able to give most of your focus, right? Okay. So let's talk about since we are nearing the end of our workshop for today, let's talk about some of the key takeaways, what we talked about, right? So attention is trainable. So this means that with purpose and with practice, you can enhance your ability to concentrate. Think of attention like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you use it. Okay. Recent insights in mental fitness stress that deliberate cognitive training, or like if you deliberately train your mind to focus, it can significantly boost resilience against distractions, and it can also sharpen your mental clarity. Okay. How you can train your mind? You can you can do focused tasks. Okay. Like doing tasks in a more focused manner, like give 100% of your focus. Maybe like solving puzzles, or, playing any game which are puzzle based, or, engaging in mindfulness activities. These are exercises that will train your brain to, flex your brain muscles so that, you can focus better. Okay. So just 10 minutes a day of focus practice, it's like a workout for your brain. Okay. And right. So the next point is digital habits shape your focus. So our habits around digital technology have a profound impact on our focus, on our attention. Constant notifications, endless app feeds, and unstructured screen time shape how our minds operate. Research shows that mindful tech engagement minimizes distractions and helps reclaim focus and mental well-being. A notification-free app zone or schedule tech-free hours, or like schedule hours where you do not look at your screen, can dramatically shift your focus, right? And the next point is like mindful use of your technology can lead to greater productivity and well-being. So when you use technology mindfully with intention and boundaries instead of letting the technology control you, it becomes a productivity ally and it does not become an energy drain. If you The social media era, the technology era is actually a blessing for us if we use it in the correct way, right? There are so many distractions on social media. We have to filter ourselves. We have to filter out the things that we deem unnecessary, for our productivity. We have to control what we consume. We have to control how much we consume. And then we can turn the very thing, the phone, which we are seeing now as a major distractor, we can turn that into a major ally, because there are every possible resources available on the internet and on social media and on phones to help you be more productive. You just have to know how to use it, right? So think of tech as a tool when used deliberately. It supports your flow instead of disrupting it. So here's a practical tip you guys can take. It's turning off non-essential alerts, using app timers, or reserve a technology wind down hour before bed. Like I said, an hour before going to sleep at night, you just keep any kind of gadget, any kind of technological thing around you aside, right? So why these all the points that we talked about, all these the recap that we just made, why it's important. If we tie them all together, it will lead to empowered focus. Training attention offers sustained mental clarity, enabling deeper work and smarter problem solving. Intentional tech use can lead to digital habits directly. It can directly impact your cognition, mood, and stress levels. So changing habits isn't optional. Okay, it's transformative. And productivity and well-being. So mindful tech engagement doesn't just boost output. Okay, it enhances satisfaction, emotional health, and sustainable performance. It gives you a feeling of satisfaction. It makes you feel good. Without these practices, without these healthy practices, without a way of turning this boom that we call social media into a blessing, we have the risk of developing chronic distraction, mental fatigue, or burnout that we discussed, and reactive living. Okay, this is exactly what modern performance undermines, right? So that is it for today's workshop. That is all the things we have discussed. I will send a toolkit in the group. Just make sure to have a look out for it. I will send a toolkit. I will give you some of the resources. Definitely try to incorporate them in your daily life. Okay. Definitely try to go over some of the techniques that we discussed, some of the techniques that we have talked about, and all the ways we have talked about how social media works, how attention economy works, how companies are out there, trying to profit off of our attention, right? How our attention and focus is being used as a commodity. Try to remember all that. After this workshop, hopefully you are more aware of how our attention works, how your focus works, and why distractions are so prevalent and common now. Hope this workshop has helped you gain a better insight into these things. And I really hope that you guys had a very informative session. I'm really glad the way you guys interacted and put up points, came up with your own points. That was really helpful. If you have anything you would like to ask or anything you would like to say, you can unmute yourself or type in the chat box. Or if you can feel free to read whatever you are deciding. Thank you for the session. It was really good. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that I helped you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you. Thank you for interacting so much. Thank you. I'm really glad I could help. The way our brain reaction to digital distraction is explained really well. In particular, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm glad you found it informative, and I really hope it helps you gain more insight and increase your insight.